Hi, wine lovers. This is your host, Robert Scott, and this is our first video conversation of 2020. In this conversation, you will hear Giuseppe Mazzocolin at Fattoria Felsina in Castelnuova Beradinga, Chianti Classico, talk about his history, his philosophy, and what he sees for Chianti in the future. I think you'll find it a most interesting conversation.
I married Gloria 10 years after her father bought the estate. So we married on 1976, and the property was the family property since 1966. So, but full time here, I started on 1982. Was something totally different because I was coming from another totally different experience. I was graduated in Florence with humanistic interests, and I received the formation to be a teacher, professor with a university, with a career in the university. But when I received this significant proposal, step by step, I tried to understand it was the right way, it was the right moment also, because we were just at the beginning. The concept of identity is something very strong, especially to live and share. It's not enough to say this wine is our identity. We need to become. In that time was very difficult because Chianti was Chianti without the real significant correspondent aspect in the wines, in the story of the grapes and the vinification. It was a great moment. Together with other producers, we learned and find step by step our own identity. Brunelli said, because he was a friend of us, that our real name was not Felsina or Felsina, but Fattoria della Beradinga, with the idea to give very strong meaning to the area. So invited us to work with a designer that conceived this B or Beradinga, that in that time was much bigger than today, with the idea to figure immediately the identity of the area, of terroir. So when I started to promote the first vinifications, also with our enologist Franco Bernabei, it was absolutely very important for me to say where we were from. But Felsina was written very small on the label, and Beradinga was big. So I was born because of this landscape, together with the other producers. So that's my story.
Now, where were you born?
I was born in Treviso. My father and mother were from Venice, so they were immigrants. Half an hour by train from Venice to Treviso. Yes, but Venice was the lagoon and the sea. Treviso was the country, absolutely, two worlds. Unbelievable. And so I was living both the realities with a nostalgic approach with the life in the life of my parents. Yes, Venice in the heart, and Treviso in the in the school, in the relation with my friends, and then I moved to Florence for the university, and was the real way to go to be in Tuscany, perhaps with the right instruments, because to be cultivated in that part of studies was a kind of introduction to the agricultural world.
In the 50s, all we really in the States understood about Chianti
Yes.
was that it came in a fiasco bottle.
Absolutely, it was the right presentation. But two different approaches we can have to remember that moment. Two different approaches. Because it was the standard bottle with straw to promote Chianti in the world. But there was another reality. The farmers and the single small estates in the crop sharing times, mezzadria, was the way to share the Chianti, the wine, the local production, the local vinification, when there was in the time when the spirit, the idea of the wine was the kind of food of relations, the way to stay at home, the way to pass the fiasco to the person beside you, and was a social way to be in the context of Chianti. My grandfather from Venice, I remember him only in Venice, was drinking Chianti, was familiar with Chianti, and he was confident with this fiasco, without straw, but with a special glass, because Venice has a great tradition of glasses, and was done by hand. And so I remember this fiasco in the context of a house beside Rialto in Venice was something very unique. So my approach, my idea of Chianti was a noble idea. So the local production and the brand for the industrial companies was the two ways to conceive, to understand the world of Chianti. And when I drink Chianti today, it's impossible not to mention, to remember. So there's an emotional way to. So we try to do our best to respect, of course, the modernity and the right vinification we can have today, and in the same time not to be so distant with the freshness, the character of the time, of Chianti in that time.
So then
What I said.
you like more Chianti than any other?
Oh, now a good wine is, in any case, my real concept. I cannot separate now. For me, a good wine. I have something to remember. It was 1960. I was traveling with my father, my mother, my sister, and my brother to France. We were going to meet our cousins in Paris. So from Treviso to Paris, we went by Volkswagen. So in that direction. And my brother was very much interested to see the monasteries in the area of Cluny, Citeaux, Clairvaux, was in Burgundy area. But the first idea was to visit these special places. But was harvesting time. It was in the beginning of October. It was Pinot. I remember the smell of the real Burgundy in that time, when it was another world. I remember the atmosphere was touchable. The perfumes. I was 12 years old. I was 12 years old. I cannot forget. I remember the people. I remember the horses. I remember the ladies in the vineyards harvesting with these bodies and involved in that incredible soul of life, of unforgettable vintage. And so when it was my baptism, now I know, I was the real great introduction, because you first know you know the wine because of the perfume, because of the nose that they can perceive. But I was pregnant, come si dice? Impregnato.
So did you drink the wine at 12 years old?
Yes, I was introduced from my uncle in Paris to the Burgundy consumption. And it was familiar to go down in the cellar and to take the last bottle of Bourgogne. And it was an emotional time, because he said all the time, "This is the last one." He was ready, and we were absolutely very touched. You were very generous, Vittorio.
My grandfather,
Yeah.
he would make wine in the cellar,
Yes.
and he was very proud of this wine. And we as kids, we were allowed to drink the wine at 7, 8 years old. And I remember my parents having a party, and I must have had a little bit too much wine. I started getting silly, so my mother sent me to bed. She said, "It's time for you to go to bed." Okay, I went to bed. I was willing. I remember, those are the things I remember. Yeah, same type of thing with grandparents or mom and dad, of course.
In the time, wine was not in fiasco.
No,
But my uncle was doing by himself the bottling. Sometimes was bottling his own selection of Burgundy. He used to go and buy on the place the wine. So this familiar way to approach the wine, for me, is something very, very important. Now there's the aristocracy of the presentation. Now it's impossible to separate the story of a bottle with the real technical responsibility, capacity of the producers. But I cannot separate this today, it's my time, with that past, with that experience. So
Do you have children?
I have 2 children.
Too. Are they involved in the wine?
I have a
business?
nephew that is involved.
Uh-huh.
Not my children wanted to follow different directions. My daughter spent 10 years here. Yes, and now she's doing by herself. She's doing a lot for the olive oil communication in Italy. We need to inform the people, also Italian people, that's a great culture. And we need to cultivate that culture, to be educated in the right way to understand a good olive oil. And my son is in the photographer, but perhaps one day they will be interested to
come back.
perhaps. And so I was remembering Veronelli. When my father-in-law said, "You have to work here," it was Domenico Poggiali, my my father-in-law. I said, okay, I can try. And then I saw that was possible. And so I have a great gratitude for this invitation. In the same time, I can say grazie also to Luigi Veronelli that inspired my work. He was the right person that can stay beside you. You can pass and walk in the vineyards, and you know that you have a friend beside you. And Veronelli was a great friend. And so when I was invited to New York for this presentation, I said all my best. I did my best to remember him and communicate that wine is not possible. It's impossible to separate the wine from the real relations, the good relation with the people. And so wine is a relation. That's my story.